It's like the hunter who ties his bloody knife to a tree. And then the wolf comes along and he licks the knife. He thinks that he's getting something from licking the knife. He can taste the blood. It's his tongue that's bleeding. And he keeps cutting his tongue, licking the knife. Till eventually, he licks himself to death. That's what negative thinking can do. Let's just keep it real. So you see, the thing about negative thinking is it can be a contagion of the mind. So the negative thought can kind of attract more negative thoughts and turn into an even bigger problem. So on the other hand, you have a lot of people, what they'll try to do, and I've done this plenty of times, is try to flood the brain with all positivity, all positive input, positive thinking, reading nothing but positive material, just a constant barrage of happy-go-lucky type of things to occupy the mind. And you know, it's a little bit of hope-eum, which is not all that bad. I think that hope-eum, I'm saying it like that for the algo, but it can get you over that hump. It's an internal medicine. If you ask the average person what percentage of their thoughts are negative, do you think they'll overestimate or underestimate? That's an interesting question that I don't even know the answer to. I can only speculate or go research it. But I find it interesting, so I ask myself this question. What percentage of my thoughts were negative today? What percentage of my thoughts were negative this week, this month compared to last month? Or this quarter compared to last quarter, or even this year compared to last year? I think that those are very important questions. They're self-assessing questions to ask oneself, because if we cannot analyze ourselves, we live in a state of unconsciousness. And I think that a lot of the times we fall into negative thinking patterns because we're unconsciously doing it. We may be preoccupied with a number of different things while the negative thought intrudes. So it's one of those things where it's like it seems easier said than done to just think positive, right? The whole reason why we want to think positive is because thinking negative is a debilitating state. It's a scarcity state. It's not a state where you manifest from. It's not a state that you create from. And it's not a state that you prosper in. But the reality of this scenario is that there's a lot of negative in the world. But it doesn't mean fixate on it. You acknowledge the negative. But it's the same thing with like cortisol. The reason why we have adrenaline and cortisol, it's because it's used. It's a bodily reaction to get out of danger real quick and then flee to safety. Your cortisol is supposed to go down. It's not supposed to stay jacked up. For various reasons, people's cortisol will stay jacked up all day. But that's a different topic. But I liken it to that analogy because just like cortisol, a negative thought is kind of like a stress hormone. So the people who achieve and accomplish great things do it from a flow state. They're not doing it from a state of stress. And that is why negative thinking patterns are a detriment. Now, that being said, I'm self-analyzing because I personally want to know what triggers me to have negative thoughts, or what triggers me to want to complain. Because the majority of my negative thoughts most of my negative thoughts are me complaining about something. And I don't complain to other people, I do it to myself. I don't bombard other people with my complaints. I don't like to, because I don't like it when they do it to me. That's one of the most annoying things, is to hear somebody complain. So I find that it's best to get all my complaining out to myself, whether I do it in the car where I'm venting my frustrations. You might have seen I recorded a video of me doing it, but I'm actually questioning whether I should take the video down or not. But I do this. This is what I do. You know? And I'm going to talk about some of the visualization methods that I use. But I notice sometimes what happens is, if I don't get enough sleep, that's one thing that can trigger a lot of the negative thinking. If I don't eat a healthy diet and I don't exercise, those three things right there, I notice a downshift energetically right off the jump. So when I don't prioritize those, my negative thinking increases tenfold. Like, it's much harder to control my thought process and switch it from negative to positive if I'm either tired, under-exercised, or intoxicated with poor food choices, treating my mouth like a garbage disposal. That's what it does. Okay? So I know for me, I have to keep that in check, because if I'm on top of those 3 keystone habits, I don't think I'll have any negative thoughts. I keep it pretty much positive for the most part, for most of the day, unless of course I'm legitimately antagonized or provoked in some way. But then it might take a lot more for somebody to provoke me out of my good mood. When those 3 things are in check, I'll take a lot more. But it's much more easily triggered when those 3 things are neglected. Now, anybody would have some negative thoughts if somebody tries to steal your wallet or your pocketbook or something. You better have some negative thoughts. You don't want to think that they're doing something altruistic by tapping your pockets. Better recognize what it is and spur into action somehow. But it's like this. If something severe or serious happens, you better get serious and take your head out of the clouds in that moment. And I'm not saying that positive thinking is all pie in the sky, head in the clouds type thinking. In fact, there was a study, something that I read somewhere. It said that optimistic people find more opportunities. And optimistic people have more energy. They accomplish more in regards to being optimistic or pessimistic. I said pessimistic, I meant pessimistic. And I wonder what percentage of the population lean more toward being pessimistic, and what percentage of the population actually lean more toward being optimistic. I'll have to find that out. But if you get a good idea on what's going on with the collective, you can see why so many people are having a hard time while some are living the life of their dreams. They're living their best lives. I mean, it makes total sense why somebody who is optimistic would have more energy to accomplish things and get things done. Because it's exhausting to be negative and pessimistic and complain all the time. In the world, if you're coming from a perspective where everything sucks and just complaining about people and complaining about your job, it's really easy to do that. It's really easy to complain about your job or complain about people who are, shall we say, having issues in this world. Sometimes they may take their issues out on you and take their traumas out on you, making it frustrating. And you want to sit and complain about it. It doesn't make the situation any better. So just think to yourself right now, whenever you are in a negative state, pessimistic, angry, worried, think about how your energy was during that time. And then think about how your energy was when you were happy, elated, optimistic, joyful. Because when you really think about it, you realize life is just too short. Time goes by so fast. When literally the year disappeared, are you going to do this negative thing year after year? Are you going to keep this negative habit going? Or are you going to decide to make a change and stop the negativity? Stop the complaining. Stop talking about drama. You see, I think that's a huge unnoticed trigger right there in this world. Because you watch drama on the television screen. If you're looking for drama, you could just turn on the TV. You'll find it. You don't even have to wait for it. It's right there. It's going to be right there just waiting for you. It's right there waiting to steal your attention. To sink its dirty teeth right into your psyche and siphon away all your positive outlook and your attention. The attention that you use for your opportunities. The attention that you use to cultivate the energy to achieve your dreams. Okay? And you might think it's entertaining, and you might think it's informative. But in actuality, what is it doing on a subconscious level? It's feeding something inside of you that doesn't need to be fed. Stop feeding the beast. You want to tend to your higher self, okay? Your most highest consciousness. All right, look, here's my call to action. I want you guys to ask yourself, how many times have you caught yourself in a negative attitude today? Because catching yourself is the first step. Write down what it was that put you there. And then underneath that, write down what you're going to do to get out of that mental state. There's a number of avenues that you can take, but you need to figure this out. Let me give you an example. The typical emotions a person might feel in a week most likely are being stressed, frustrated, angry, insecure, lonely, or boredom. These are just action signals if you think about them. But write these down. Get specific and write down the emotion and analyze it. What exact action is that negative emotion telling you to take? You want to give yourself the tools. When you use your brain to analyze how you would get through it, whatever the emotion is, there's a specific way to get out of it and fix it. You just have to listen to what the emotion is telling you to take action on and follow through. There's an antidote for each one of these emotions. You just have to remember to use it every time the negative emotion pops up. So I ask myself, what do I do when I'm frustrated? Because I'm always moving around. I'm trying to get a lot of things done. I'm a busy person. And a lot of things tend to get in my way and I get frustrated. But one of the things that I love to do is remind myself. You know, when Happy Gilmore, you ever see the movie Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler? In order for him to win the golf tournament, they told him to go to his happy place because he had a little bit of a temper problem. And it would cause him to lose focus and swing too hard and he would miss the ball. So they said, go to your happy place. And then he would imagine this happy, lovely place in his mind. And then he can concentrate and hit the golf ball. So I kind of adopt that methodology. And for me, it's somewhere tropical. It doesn't even exactly matter where, just somewhere tropical, preferably along the coastline. That's my happy place. And another thing that I like to do is, if it's at night, it doesn't even matter where I am. It could be in the cold winter in Connecticut. As long as it's nighttime and the sky is clear and I can see the stars and the moon. No matter how I'm feeling in that moment, when I look at those stars and the moon in the sky, it's a complete energy shift. My mood is completely elevated. So it doesn't really take much for me to get out of it. I can go to a number of different happy places in my mind. I actually have a few that I predominantly choose. And I could talk about those on another video, but just to give you an idea of how I utilize the happy place methodology. So there needs to be a cue that you use as a signal to remind yourself to go to your happy place mentally. It's like astral projection. You literally freeing your mind in that moment. You can be enslaved by your own mind. And you can also free yourself with your own mind. That's what we're working with. So that's how to get out of it. Because if you don't get yourself out of it, you'll have an infestation that starts in your brain and spreads to your body. If you let anger or frustration go on for too long, it usually starts by manifesting itself as aches and pains in the body. It could be a tightness in the chest, maybe a pain in the lower back or upper neck area. This is why self-awareness is so important. And controlling your emotional state is so important. This is about producing flow states at will. Literally bending reality in your favor. Making this world work for you instead of you working for it. Because this world will slave you if you let it. Don't allow that to happen. I'm telling you. This is the game changer that I'm realizing right now. Through all the due diligence that I'm doing, I've been locking in the past couple of weeks. There is no compromise with my self-development. Develop self or die trying. Okay? Anything less is pointless. 1% better every single day. You don't have to walk through walls and perform magic the way you think you do. All you have to do is get the slight edge on every facet of your being consistently. But I think part of the problem, part of the huge problem that we have in the world, it's like people don't understand how powerful they really are as human beings. Just look around. They really don't understand the power that they hold between their ears. And it's really my purpose to get people to recognize the power that they have. We have anxiety and depression at all-time highs right now. So, gaining control of your thinking, if you can understand it, is going to open you up to a new host of possibilities. If you can understand it. Not everybody can actually understand it. A lot of people are very, very comfortable in their negative thought patterns. And a lot of people have an ego tied to their negative thinking. There's an ego tied to it. But it often ends up biting them in the end. It's like the hunter who ties his bloody knife to a tree. And then the wolf comes along and he licks the knife. He thinks that he's getting something from licking the knife. He can taste the blood. It's his tongue that's bleeding. And he keeps cutting his tongue, licking the knife. Till eventually, he licks himself to death. That's what negative thinking can do. Let's just keep it real. So, I believe that positive thinking is what feeds the soul of a person. Your true essence can come out and play. Just like when you eat healthy, get enough sleep, and get enough exercise, your true essence can shine through. But if you're not doing those things and you're not loving and respecting yourself, and you're not sleeping, you're not eating right, you're not exercising, you're only going to be a fragment of your true self. And that's the original power that I'm talking about that people possess, but they don't even know that they have. That's just the beginning. There's so much more to it than that. So stay tuned. And I'm going to be talking about more of this on the next episode. Until the next time, check out these videos right here that I'm going to put on the screen. You guys have a lovely day. Get to the next level. Peace. We out of here.